Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. This is Dusu. Thank you for watching, and if you haven't already, please make sure you like, share, subscribe, comment. Yes, comment. Okay, so before I get started, I actually wrote down everything that I wanted to talk about today, and I hope you guys can hear me. I have this mic, but just in case you guys don't hear me, I just got this. Well, no, I've had this mic. But so the purpose of my video today is kind of just going over a couple of things. So I'm going to be talking about like my progress and how I almost kind of like self-sabotage myself for my show. And this was my first national level show. I'm also going to be talking about my experience with a coach. Okay. And then basically kind of the significance of discernment and trusting yourself, and emphasizing how that kind of ties in with discipline. Why I decided to let go of the coach, didn't work out, and basically how I maintained my physical, mental, and emotional well-being through prep. Okay, so before I get started, I got my coffee, and then I also have my water. So actually, let me put my phone on DND because y'all don't want to see me looking at my phone while talking to y'all. No, I don't think so. Okay, and so I have like a separate camera right here and then another camera right here. So I may be looking at two different cameras, but I am talking to y'all. Okay, so my first national level show, my experience. For me, it was prepping for that show was the hardest prep that I have ever had to go through. I think because of the amount of pressure that I put on myself, because I knew the level and the caliber of the show that I was doing. The show that I did was the Ben Weeder all natural show, and people fly in from all over. And when I say all over, I mean from different countries, from different states, everywhere. Okay, so people come in because we don't have that many natural shows on the NPC side, and this is a pro qualifier, so they do have the NPC pro qualifier, and then of course the IFBB pro side for Ben Weeder. And since I'm an amateur, I compete on the NPC pro qualifier. So my goal was to of course get my pro card, which didn't happen, but I came to me pretty close. And when I started self-coaching earlier this year, it kind of was like, okay, it started off as me, let's rewind. Okay, why did I end up self-coaching the first time? So the first time, it kind of all just like fell. It was like a couple building blocks that just happened at the same time, where like something happened with my old coach that just like that situation just messed up, and then I got laid off from my job. So of course I wasn't going to be paying somebody to coach me at that time, and it was kind of like, okay, like you're already preparing for this show, you registered for this show, you might as well just go ahead and do it. And I used my own research. So I was just like, you know what, I'm just going to research this. I had notes from my first show that I did, and I knew what worked for my body. So I was like, you know, I'm going to try self-coaching myself, because I've had people tell me that I could coach myself. I was like, no, I can't, but I did. Okay, and it was my pro debut. I did pretty well. I came in second. And for a pro debut as a self-coach athlete, pat self on the back. But so I did that, and then for the following show, which was my June show, I had the guy that I was talking to, or the situation that I was in, he kind of helped me with finishing up that show, and I did pretty well on that show. So I placed second, fourth on the non-tested side, and then I of course won overall on the natural side. So yay. So yay for that. And then for the national level show, which was the Ben Weeder, I, of course, again, self-coached myself. Now, when I say sabotaged my own progress, I would literally have days or weeks, let's say, where the scale will jump up because of my hormones or something being thrown off, or me being under stress, and the scale will immediately show it, right? And the thing that people always ignore or forget about is that stress shows on your body, and we always forget that. So whenever I was stressed, it would show in my midsection, and I would see it, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm not on track. And guess what happens after that? I'll just go eat something else and be like, well, since I'm kind of not on track, I'll just eat something that I'm not supposed to be eating. Or for example, if I am supposed to be eating 20 grams of almond butter, I would eat like 27, just a little, or just like leave a little extra on the spoon to lick after, but knowing that I'm not supposed to be doing that. So like kind of like sabotaging my own progress. And the craziest part is that I would sabotage it with food, but not with my workouts. Like my workouts were always done to the T. Like I would do my cardio, I would do all my sets, and then I would be like, okay, like I'm gonna be good, and then it would be my food. And then I would sit there and then like contemplate on what my placing is going to be, and then get stressed out about that. That shows on my body. And then I would text my friends and be like, I don't think I can do this, da 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 da. And then just like tell myself that I am not qualified enough to do this. I shouldn't be self-coaching. And then I would use AI to kind of like decipher and nitpick my body and be like, oh, like, am I going to hit this number by this day? And just like every couple hours, just trying to find something wrong with the progress that I'm making. I literally was just like, the scale's not moving. So I'm not making progress. But pictures don't lie, friends. Pictures don't lie. So I would take my check-in pictures and do comparisons, and I would see the differences, but I would always tell myself that I'm not on track. Our minds, it's a mind game. Okay, our minds play so much tricks on us, and we need to get out of that. So my computer wanted to be heard. So I think one of the things that I had to get out of is telling or feeding myself negative things. We are so used to feeding ourselves negative things, and social media. Child, once I found out somebody on my social media was competing in the same show that I was doing, it was like, oh my god, let me check that person's page, let me do this. So I took myself off of social media for a little bit, because I do not want to see your progress, because it has nothing to do with me. It has nothing to do with me. Your progress and mine is not the same. And then I would sit there and compare my prep pictures to my previous prep. And those prep pictures that I was comparing it to were like 2 weeks out before my show for the first prep or the second prep. And I'm still like 15 weeks out. So how does that even make sense? That does not make sense. I should not be comparing my pictures to my lean pictures when I was 2 weeks out or when I was depleted, but that is what I was doing. It was just kind of like just mind games I was playing with myself. But I also knew that I had a great physique, and I knew that I wanted to do this because I wanted to see if I could, 1, get my pro card, 2, how far and ahead I could get, and 3, what the feedback would be to see what progress I've made over the past couple months and also over the whole year as a whole. And I got really great feedback. When I stepped off stage and I was told that I was second, and I looked at the pictures, I was like, I looked at the pictures between the first place and the second place, which was me. And I was like, okay, so this and that is where I can see where she beat me at. And when I got my feedback, that is what I was told. So I'm like, yeah, so it makes sense. So I used my own intellect, and I did research on what a wellness athlete should look like. And it was like, okay, this is what I need to work on. And that is exactly what the judges were looking for. So self-coaching is a mind, you know the word, but it can be done. Self-sabotaging is part of that process, unfortunately. So you just have to be confident in yourself. There was a point where I was so confident in myself. I was tired, but I knew I could execute. I was tired, but I knew I could execute. And I think that the people around me saw that. And I'm not talking about just my friends, but I think that the people at my gyms that I was going to, they all knew. And they would all see me, and they would say things. It was like, it was like God sent them to say things to me that to just keep me going. It would be 2:30 in the morning and I get into the gym and somebody would be like, you already competed? What was your placing? And I'm like, I haven't competed yet. I still got like 3 weeks. And they're like, really? Because you're already there. And it's just like those little pushes just like made me know that I was on the right track and I was doing the right thing. But yeah, so I don't regret self-coaching. I did save a lot of money, but I am probably going to be looking for a coach. I am just wary because of my experiences with coaches, which takes me to the next topic. I did start off going into this season or training for Ben Reader with a coach. Now, this is a coach that I had talked to or consulted with because I did like a couple phone consultations to try to see who would be a great coach for me, right? So I was like, okay, cool. Like I am going to go with this person to coach me to go into this big national level show. And this was a IFBB pro. It was a male. And I was like, yeah, so he's probably going to know what he's doing. And of course, I want to make sure that everything was right. So I was like, I'm going to wait until I get a job before I hire a coach. So I did end up getting a job. Yay. I ended up getting a job, so I'm working full time. So I'm like, okay, let me hire this person. So I hired this coach, and from the beginning, I already told this person what my struggles were. And one of my biggest struggles in prep is eating. I don't eat a lot, so eating 5 to 6 meals is such a struggle for me, guys. It is such a struggle, and people always think that bodybuilders don't eat, but actually we eat all the time. We're supposed to be eating like every 2 to 3 hours. And that is, for me, it's like, oh my God, again. Again. And I kind of told them that, and I already have my training down on lock. Like I know how to train myself. I know the parts that I need to grow in, that yada, 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 whatever. So the training that he had outlined for me just did not make sense to me. Okay, so yes, I am a wellness competitor, which means it's lower body focused, quads, hamstrings, glutes, but your upper body matters too. And he did not want me doing upper body. And I was just like, bro, that makes no sense to me. There's no way I'm going to the gym and not training my upper body. And he's like, well, you don't need to hit shoulders. You're not a figure competitor, da, 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 yada, yada, yada. You need to reserve your energy. Yes, I need to reserve my energy. I know that. But I'm also not just going to neglect my shoulders. I'm not going to neglect my back, my chest, just because I'm a wellness competitor. If I'm a wellness competitor that's been 10 years in the game and the judges gave me feedback that says, don't build your upper body more, that would make sense. But the last feedback that I got told me that I actually needed more delts. So in my opinion, that means I need to hit upper body. And he literally was just like, you don't need to train upper body. And we kept going back and forth. And I told him from the beginning, from day one, I was like, if you don't put upper body in my plan, I am going to do it. I am going to create my own upper body day and just do it, because I'm not going to follow a plan that does not include upper body. And he kind of like threw in like a day that had like 2 chest movements, 2 back movements, and like 1 shoulder, and was like, here's our upper body, yada, yada, yada. And I was like, I'm not following that. And he's like, oh, you're not coachable. No, sir. You're not a good coach, okay? Because you think just because the definition or the guidelines that say wellness is lower body focused means that you ignore every other part of your body. No, it's an overall look. Sorry, there's something in my mouth. It's an overall look. It goes from top to bottom, and they judge your entire look. Your look has to flow. So I literally created my own upper body days, and he would get so defensive and offended about it. And I'm just like, if you had just put it in there, it wouldn't be a problem. And then he was like, well, he said something, and I'm like, I really don't follow that plan that you put together, because it just doesn't make sense to me. Like the movements don't make sense to me. For you to put shoulders and like chest and back, and it's like 2 movements, there's no point in training that way, in my opinion. The training plan that he outlined did not match mine, and I had already told him I know how to train myself, basically, right? So I just need your guidance, and this is what I do, so can you guide me better? And it was just like, no, we're gonna scrap yours and we're gonna do this. Okay, so I started following his plan, but I would also add in that upper body because I knew I needed upper body. And guess what? After my show, my feedback was that I needed to bring in my upper body. Literally, after my national show, I was told in my feedback, and that's in writing, and I'm going to post that here, that says that I need to work on bringing in my upper body as a whole. So yes, I think I know what I'm doing. I think I know what I'm saying. So this person was like, okay, like I want to train you for off season and on season, whatever. And he's like, oh, I don't think, at first he was like, oh, I don't think you should be doing the Ben Weeder, or you don't have enough time to prep for Ben Weeder because you were in prep earlier this year. And then he was like, oh, we can prep for this. So I'm like, okay, cool. Let's prep for Ben Weeder. I was going to prep for Ben Weeder anyways. But anyways, so we started to prep. He sent me like my meal plan and stuff. And immediately I was just like, there are things on here that I already know are going to be my downfall. Okay. I already know that if you have almond butter on my meal plan, you could basically say goodbye to the rest of the foods on the meal plan, because that is what I'm going to be sitting down and eating the whole day, right? So I was just like, having almond butter on there does not really work for me because I know myself. It's very important to know yourself. And he was like, well, you need fats. I know I need fats. I know that. And that's why for my other preps, I had to take out almond butter. I had to take out peanut butter. I had to take out all these other things that I knew didn't, like, they were my kryptonite. So I would get my fats from eggs, or some other way, but not with that. And then he would have things in there, and he's like, you have to eat this much protein and this much that. I'm like, I know that. I've sang the song before. I know that. And he wants me to eat like, I think it was like 5 or 6 meals. And I'm like, can we break it down to 4 meals? Because I really don't eat that much. And it was just like push and pull, because he was like, you're not coachable. No, I'm telling you the things that don't work for me. So this started with the foods, and then like with the carbs, I flagged that I don't eat rice when I'm in prep, because again, I know how rice sits on my body. You know how bodybuilders always talk about carb cycling, because they need to know what carbs work for them. You need to know what carbs gives you a good pump, what carbs give you energy, what carbs sit in your stomach and make you bloated. And if you don't know what carb cycling is, look it up. But I already went through this before, so I already know that rice doesn't really work for me. And he wanted me to eat a certain amount of oats and things like that. And I was just like, okay, cool. Like, I'll do this, like, and I'll eat this and this and this. And he would get offended that I would tell him the foods that work for me and what I could replace it with. And he was just like, you're not listening. You're not following the plan. You're not coachable. No, I know that this food doesn't work for me, but I'll follow your plan. I'll follow your plan. So I did that. And then the scale wasn't moving. Hello? Hello, the scale's not moving because I told you it was not going to move, because you gave me things that I already knew was going to get stuck on me. All right. So the scale wasn't moving, and he was like, oh, like there's no progress, da 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 da. And I was just like, oh my Lord. So progress was slow. Calories were being cut. And then it got to a point where my cardio was getting increased, right? So this person increased my cardio. And so actually, let me go back. So I would send in my check-in pictures, and I would get feedback. And the feedback was like, add 10 minutes of cardio. That's the feedback. Okay. Mind you, when I first started, he told me that I was doing too much cardio. I was doing an hour of cardio, and I was like, no, I'm not. I don't think I'm doing it. I don't think I'm doing too much cardio. I know my body. I know how much cardio I need. I've done this before. And I need to cut down. So I'm not doing too much cardio. So my cardio got bumped up. I was like, okay, cool. So I bumped it up. Then it got bumped up again. And I was like, cool. And then the one time I sent him my check-in pictures, and he bumped my cardio up to 2 hours. So I was like, excuse me, why is my cardio being bumped up to 2 hours? And he was like, well, to be honest, you're fat. And I was like, yeah, no, absolutely not. I am not paying you to call me fat. I'm sorry. I am not paying you to call me fat. And bumping my cardio up to 2 hours is really not the problem. Bumping my cardio to 2 hours without actual feedback is what I don't consider coaching, because you're not telling me why you're bumping it up to 2 hours. I can do 2 hours of cardio. Everybody knows that. I can do it. You don't have to tell me to work out. I can work out. But if you're bumping me to 2 hours of cardio, I need you to be like, hey, I'm bumping you to 2 hours of cardio because you're still holding fats in your leg. I'm bumping you to 2 hours of cardio because you're not conditioned enough. I need your arms to come down. I need this part. I need your waist to be cinched in or something like that. But no explanation. It was just like 2 hours of cardio. And then when I asked the question, again, he says, you're not coachable. And I was just like, I'm asking a question. I should have questions about my own body. I should have an opinion on my own body, okay? So after that, I basically stopped sending pictures because I was just like, you know what? You're not going to call me fat. I was updating my weight on the sheet and everything. And then after, I think it was like a week or two or so, he like reaches out and is like, oh, I noticed that you stopped sending pictures, and this is a non-refundable. Sir, I did not ask you for a refund. I stopped sending pictures because I do not need a grown-ass man calling me fat for a bodybuilding show. I'm paying for this. I'm not getting paid for this. I am paying for this. So he was just like, this is non-refundable, da 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 da. And I was just like, I have been updating my weight and everything, but let's be clear. You called me fat the last time I sent a picture. I don't appreciate that. I do not appreciate that. And he's like, oh, well, I did not mean to offend you. I did not call you fat. The reality of the matter is you put on too much weight when you went on vacation. Yes, I put on weight. I knew that. I was eating. I knew I put on weight. You don't need to tell me I put on weight. Like, you thought I was not going to eat on vacation? Anyways, so that happens, and I was just like, okay, you want pictures? Here are the pictures. So I sent all the pictures that I took. I was taking pictures. I sent all the pictures that I took in between that time, and I gave updates on different like things, like I was bloated during my cycle. This is what happened when I did this much cardio. My legs were blown up, da 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 da, whatever. Again, I did not even touch on the refund topic or that I wasn't coachable. I was just like, here are your pictures, and I've been updating everything. So that happens. I was like, okay, whatever. So mind you, I think he only coached me for like 4 or 5 weeks. Okay, so all this happens in like 4 or 5 weeks. It wasn't that long. Anyways, that happens, and then my scale stopped moving again, and he was just like, okay, I'm gonna put you on a fat burner. He recommends a fat burner. I take the fat burner, and guess what happens? I end up in the ER. I end up in the ER, okay? I literally my heart rate was beating out of my chest. I was at the gym, and I had to call the ambulance. First of all, I was like, oh, like I'm about to pass out. So I stepped out of the gym, and I went to my car, and I called the ambulance because I am not getting pulled out on a stretcher at the gym. Can you imagine? Well, I can't imagine, but can you imagine getting pulled out on a stretcher at the gym? Hey. But yeah, so I ended up at the ER, and I was on the bed in a room at the ER, and I texted him. I was like, the supplement that you told me to take has landed me in the ER. And guess what this man says? Well, you probably didn't follow my directions. No sense of accountability. No sense of like, oh, let me check in on how this person is doing. Like, oh, are you okay? How are you doing? I'm so sorry this happened. No. Well, you probably didn't follow my directions. Da 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 da. And I was just like, I literally followed your directions. And I went on Amazon, took screenshots and sent it to him. And I was like, this is what you told me to take. This is what I took. And then I pulled up the reviews showing that other people have complained about this supplement. And he was just like, oh, da da da. Like, and it was just like no sense of like humanity at all. At all. There's no sense of this person has ended up in the ER, regardless of what happened or directions or coaching. You're still talking to a human being. Yeah. So I was like, okay. At that point, I was just like, this is where kind of like, okay, where do I cut the cord? So I hadn't told my friends that this man called me fat, right? I eventually ended up telling my friends because they already knew I was having issues, and they were just like, I don't know why you hired someone, because you could have just did this yourself. And I didn't trust myself. And this is where discernment comes in. You should know, and you should be able to be like, hey, this situation is not good for me. This is where you make the decision. And I was kind of going back and forth like, I should have listened to my gut. Okay, I should have listened to my gut and been like, from the beginning when he was just like, you're not coachable, that's the first time he said it was when I should have left. But I didn't. I was just like, I already paid, and I paid in full. It's like, I already paid, so I'm just gonna keep this going. So anyways, I went through that, and then I was like, okay, like, let's continue. We went through, my weight actually spiked up. It went up, and he was just like, oh, like, we're gonna cut your calories, right? Because in the beginning I was just like, if you're gonna cut anything, cut my calories instead of keep increasing my cardio. Because if I'm doing 2 hours of cardio, my legs are about to die. My legs were so swollen during prep, and I've never had that happen. There was a day my legs looked so inflamed. It hurt so bad. I could literally push into my legs. I was just like, cut down the calories. This man cut my calories down 400 calories and put me at 800 calories. And I was just like, okay, cool. I'm doing 800 calories and 2 hours of cardio. Now I'm being underfed, right? Because I'm doing the 2 hours of cardio. And because he was like, oh, you're pushing back on the 2 hours. I'm doing the 2 hours of cardio. It's fine. I just needed you to tell me why I needed to do the 2 hours of cardio. So now I'm being underfed and doing 2 hours of cardio on top of training. So 2 hours of cardio training takes me about an hour 30, an hour 40. That's 3.5 hours of pushing my body and then only eating about 800 calories. And that's when I was just like, okay, you know what, girl, something gotta give. So I utilized my own previous self-coaching skills and bumped my calories up. I bumped it up to 1,200. And then I also consulted with the very lovely ChatGPT and AI and asked it. I'm like, hey, listen, this, and I gave it like all the prompts, and I was just like, this is what's going on. And ChatGPT was like, you're not eating enough. 800 calories, your body's not gonna burn the fat. Your scale's not moving because you're not eating enough. You're literally burning the candle, the stick, or whatever at both ends. I don't know, candle, stick, something was being burned at both ends. So I bumped up my calories, and I was just like, let me start tracking this on my own. And then I also asked another coach, I was like, hey, like, is this normal? And he was just like, no, you're doing too much cardio. And a lot of people think that cutting calories and increasing cardio is the way, but it's not always the way. That's not how it works. And then another issue that came up was like my training, right? He was like, I need you to reduce your weight. Excuse me? If I can lift the weights and I can do the lifting, why am I reducing my weight? It made no sense, because the whole purpose of me training is to build muscle and maintain the muscle, but I'm not reducing my weight when I'm trying to keep my hypertrophy or whatever the word is. But I'm not reducing my weight when I can actually move the weight. If I'm too fatigued to lift the weight, then that makes sense. But I know my strength and my level, and I'm not reducing the weight. And he didn't want me doing like RDLs and things like this. And I'm just like, I need hamstrings. I know I need hamstrings. I don't need you to tell me that I don't need RDLs. I need hamstrings, so I'm doing RDLs. Okay, I'm doing these things because I know what I need to build on. So The last straw for me was something that actually didn't happen directly to me, but it was kind of something that happened on the side, and I saw it and I was like, oh, you're a bully. You're a bully. I don't like that. I don't like bullies. So I kindly messaged him and I was like, hey, I think it's better if we don't continue training together. Like, I appreciate all the effort that you've put in, but I don't think that our coaching styles work for each other. So I think it's better if I just do this on my own, blah, 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 blah. And I was just like, I paid you for a year and we've only worked for 1 month. So can you refund me for half of the year? So mind you, I'm like, keep like the other half and just give me back like 6 months worth, because technically you haven't done anything for off season. So just give me back that portion, because you haven't done anything. And he goes into like this lengthy message about how there's no refunds, and he thinks that I'm not coachable. I never follow the plan. I don't listen to him. Basically no accountability. And was just like, yeah, like from the beginning, like I never listened to him, yada yada yada, and how he's not gonna give a refund, how that's gonna mess up his business. Sir, I was just like, you know what? I'm not going to go back and forth with you, because one, you knew I wasn't working for half of the year. So if I paid you up front, that means like I trusted you to do something for me and you did not deliver. So I'm just asking for half back, and you can keep the other 6 months worth, which you haven't really worked on. And he was just like, no. And I'm like, okay, so you basically are okay with taking money from people and not doing the job that you promised. And he was just like, oh, this is mess up my business. I was like, okay, you know what? That's fine. I'll just contact my bank. That's what I did. And then I just terminated that, and then took my prep into my own hands, bumped my calories. I was eating more. And when I say eating more, I'm not eating 5 to 6 meals. I was eating 4 meals, but in like bigger chunks and having more calories. And guess what? The scale went down within a week, right? The scale went down, I think like 3 to 4 pounds. Like within a week of me bumping up my calories and just doing the plan that I put for myself, my scale went down. And when I tell you I hit my target goal by the time I got to the stage, by following my own plan. This is why discernment is so important, okay? So I want to tell y'all that when you're in prep, you do not need to be abused and spit out and spat out and yada 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 by a coach. No, if what they're doing does not align with what you think they should be doing, or you feel like it's not right, or you're second guessing what they're doing, question. You have the autonomy to ask a question. It's your body. Asking a coach a question, it's not an insult. They should be happy that you're asking a question. They should be happy that you're interested. It's not a one size fit all. Like, this person would tell me like, oh, my other athletes don't do this. Like when I talked about peak, I asked him about peak week, and I was just like, what's peak week going to be like? He was just like, oh, well, it's going to be the same. What? It's peak week. I need to have a peak week protocol. That situation needed to end, and he has blocked me. Blocked me on social media, and I'm just like, sir, there's no need to block me. I really do not give a damn. I saw him at my show with his other athletes, and he asked me what my placing was, and I was like, I got first call outs. I came in second in my class. How did your athletes do? Did they get first call outs or second call outs? And the last thing that I wanted to talk about was maintaining my physical, mental, and emotional well-being. I was going through a lot during this last prep. Like, physically, because I was so exhausted. It was just so draining. Oh my Lord, the amount of cardio that I was doing, because I knew I need to get more conditioned. I was doing a lot of cardio. I was waking up at 2 o'clock in the morning, doing 2 hours of cardio, or 90 minutes of cardio, and then coming back home and then eating, going to lift, coming back, working full time. I forgot to tell you, I was working full time. I'm still working full time. But working full time, doing this, and just kind of like going through the motions of it, and it's just exhausting, and it kind of takes like a mental toll, because I'm just like, am I built for this? What am I doing? Do I really want to do this? Like, what am I trying to prove? But at the back of my mind, I know that I actually love doing this and I enjoy the sport. But when you're in the trenches, child, it's hard. Okay, when you're in the trenches, it's hard. And then emotionally, I was just kind of like drained because of like this relationship that was just draining the life out of me. So eventually that ended, or has ended, since prep. But I think that for me, what I had to do was kind of like separate myself. So I took myself off of social media for some time. I would also read a lot, and I would just like dive deep into the books that I was reading. So it's either like fiction, or I would either read fiction, or I would read like self-help books or things like that. Like, I would actually read things that would help me or take me out of that dark place, but it got to a point where I was just like, it is what it is, right? I am doing this, it's fun, and I need to take the pressure off of, like, I need to win. No, I don't need to. Hey, Izzy, I don't need to win. I would like to win, but I just wanted to go up there and have fun, look good, have fun, and just have a blast. And I think that once Izzy, stop it now. Come here. So once I took that pressure off myself, I think it just got easier. And then I was kind of just like looking forward to the holidays and just being, like just being present, being available for the holidays. And I think that that's what helped. But that is kind of the summary of what happened. I do think that self-coaching taught me a lot. So I don't know if this next season, if I'm going to go with a coach or just continue self-coaching. Financially, it might be better to just self-coach again, but I also would like to see what progress I make with a coach, right? So I don't know, like, since I'm in off season, I'm fine for now. I'm just gonna kind of go with the flow and take it from there. But I really am excited for my next season and what I will bring to the stage. I do think that I can get bigger, better, badder. But like I said, with discernment, and actually let's define discernment. Okay. What does it mean when a person has discernment? Having the ability to judge well, understand deeply, and make wise decisions by distinguishing between what is good or true and what is bad or false, often involving keen insight, intuition, and casual reflection, particularly in spiritual or complex situations. Right. So, if you take one thing from this, I think everybody should have a good sense and level of discernment. If something gives you a bad feeling, look into it. Look into it and be like, I've always been told that I'm intuitive, and I know I'm very intuitive. Like, I notice things that a lot of people were like, how did you pick up on that? Because I notice things. I'll see something and I won't say anything, but I'll pick up on it, and I'll just be like, okay, like I see how you're moving. Oh, that's interesting, because I have a level of discernment, and that might be because I'm a Virgo, but that might just also be who I am. But yeah, so thank you for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed the topic. I don't know what to talk about in my next video, but maybe you guys can leave me some suggestions. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, comment. Yeah. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, comment, and also follow me on Instagram. I am mostly active on Instagram. My Instagram and TikTok are the same name, and I'll put my Instagram somewhere on the screen. Well, yeah, so thank you for watching, and I will be back with another yappy session. Yay. Also, make sure you drink your water. Oh, did I tell you guys before I go, we're no longer drinking just black coffee. We have creamer in the coffee now. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. I will talk to y'all soon.